Oh, brilliant cover tackle.
Lovely little chicken wing balls out the back to Washington. He does another one.
One chance, one opportunity.
Hello and welcome to the mid-season episode of All In. We're casting an experienced eye over the Allianz Premier 15's season to date. Gloucester Hartbury and England scrum half Mo Hunt and former England and London Irish winger Topsy bring charm, wit, brains, brawn and perhaps a bit of rugby knowledge as well. Guys, how are you doing?
Yeah, really good, really. I like that intro. I'll take all of that, all of it.
Yeah, they were all for you, all 4 adjectives. Mo, how are you?
Yeah, really well, thank you. Very happy to be here.
Great stuff. Well, 5 more rounds of the AP 15s have come and gone. We've seen some brilliant stuff. What have you made of it?
Oh, it's just been amazing. I think the thing that's standing out the most for me is the crowds are flocking in, the table's getting really tense, it just feels more edgy, like everyone's talking about it, and it's just been brilliant to be part of, but also to see, and I'm so excited for the next few rounds. I cannot wait to see how this season fares, especially because normally we've got the runaway with Sarries and Harlequins, and there's 2 just at the top and everyone else is chasing, whereas it just doesn't feel like that this year.
It's super competitive, isn't it? Topsy, for you?
Yeah, it is. I mean, just on what Mo's saying, you look at the table, you look at how teams are placed, you see how competitive it is week in, week out. The biggest thing for me so far has been that everybody can now see that in terms of broadcasting. You look at the deal with BBC now, so there's a round on every single game. BT Sport showed Big Game 13 as well. We had 9,000 here, which is a club record. We had thousands watching at home as well. Just having that many more eyes and that much more access to the game is brilliant. You know, you're going to put it in people's homes. It's going to be boys and girls watching at home saying, right, I want to do that. It just amplifies everything. So it's brilliant to see, brilliant to be a part of, and long may it continue.
And of course, with more people watching, we're picking up a fair bit more on the pitch as well. There have been some funny moments over the last 5 rounds. Here is one from Amy Cockayne.
Garcia's there. Leach provides some protection. Hope Rogers does as well.
Amy, stop counting.
North Americans who are joining.
Amy Cockayne being Amy Cockayne, wasn't it? Almost like a scrum half there, the amount of lip she was giving the ref.
Honestly, I love that. 2 things about that. Firstly, the fact that she's counting. As a 9, it's actually quite stressful when somebody is giving you the countdown, even though referees never call it. But I was actually on commentary for this game with Nick Heath, and I had to mute my mic because I was laughing so much, because I just know what she's like.
Got the seal of approval from Joe Marler as well. He gave it a little like, and you want characters, don't you? I mean, it was brilliant to see him. I saw that and I couldn't stop laughing. I watched it again and again for ages. It's funny every single time you watch it.
We've seen some quality rugby as well. Monster kicking, haven't we, Topsy?
Yeah, we have. The kicking has come on leaps and bounds, and this example we're going to see from Flaky George, outstanding. I mean, you normally say don't kick crossfield, but she's absolutely nailed it. Probably the biggest 50-22 I've seen. Rolls into touch, Gloucester get the ball, and when you execute it like that, it is just brilliant. Brilliant to see, brilliant advert. I think the views on social media about how many people have seen that, and you say, wow, that is an incredible bit of skill, and it's testament to the level that the Premier 15s has got to. It's just class.
She's just amazing as well. As being her teammate, she doesn't know how good she is at all. She's got so much ahead of her. I think she's 21, 22 at the minute, and just the growth that she's had in the last few seasons and where she can go. I've never been experienced to somebody with a boot that big. Obviously everyone talks about Emily Scarrett, Zoe Harrison, but she is right up there with those for me, and yeah, I'm just so excited to watch her grow and see that happen in that progression at Gloucester Hartbury.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Well, we've got plenty to bring you. So coming up, being a mum and an elite rugby player, it can be done. Playing at the highest level for 21 years, Sonia Green reveals her secrets. Ellie Underwood picked up a rugby ball for the first time at 21. Now she's ripping it up weekly in the AP 15s. Well, here's a wrap up of some of the biggest moments of the last 5 rounds.
Hannah Kerr over the top, she's found Hannah West directly, still going Hannah West, a brilliant run against her former side.
Oh, little kick for the corner this time. Rowland puts boot to ball, glorious take, and Georgie Lingham scores a screamer.
Delighted to see DMP on the front foot. Can they finish?
Gardner with the dive, and it's DMP with the try.
Allcroft gets there. Allcroft wants to try and scramble away over the line. Oh, and it's a try. Who else would it be? World Rugby World Player of the Year, Zoe Allcroft. Oh, what a right-hand fend that was.
Go for the try here is Bottoman from close range. Just brutal power from Hannah Bottoman. Brown, Scott with the dummy, Emily Scott with the break. What a dummy from Scott, racing under the stick.
Here comes Jazz Joyce. Is anybody going to be able to stop her? Foot to the floor, pedal to the metal, and it's later, ladies. Jazz Joyce is in the building.
Through the hands of Lund. Lund with a bend like a piston, and Lund is away. Lund is streaking down the pitch. Two hard hits and all the afterburners to see herself over the line. Go!
Fill in the holes, Burford, lovely pass as you'd expect. Kildun needs to look inside. Well, Topsy doesn't. Ellie Kildun, she's going to go all the way. Steps, Ellie Kildun. What a score!
Bevan. Oh, Bolton charge down from Allcroft, and then it's into the hands of Natasha Hunt, who's scurrying up the sideline. Bit of work to do, got the call on the outside from Allcroft. It's a superb bit of interplay between the two England stars. And an enormous right-hand fend.
22 there, Foster. Bopa was the dummy runner, Delgado looking to help it on to Detivo on the outside. She's done really well there. The extra winger with a big handoff, sliding in. Much more solid at the moment. Irwin with the pick and go, Grieve right on her shoulder, gives it short to Vicky Irwin again. Then Sale back in the game.
And now Rowland, and she's got Gaffney outside her, but Rowland goes around the outside. Helena Rowland with another in a long list of sensational tries. Kate Zachary, it's a really decent break, given the position, given the pressure. Garcia, it's hanging in the air, but it's over and through. The referee blows the final whistle. It's a memorable win at Sandy Park. Exeter Chiefs snatching victory is Patricia Garcia.
Oh, some quality rugby in there. Mo, Topsy, any favourites for you?
I think for me, that first one up, Hannah West with the one finger wagging as she goes over steps. I love seeing hookers and forwards and people you don't necessarily attribute that skill with. That was brilliant. And the last clip as well, being at Exeter in that moment, as I mentioned, the crowds flocking in, getting right behind the game, and for Garcia to hit that kick to win it in that manner was just brilliant to be part of. And not necessarily that, but what it meant to everyone there, like the girls' celebration, but also the crowd and the whole atmosphere around it was just amazing. So yeah, they're my two probably from those little highlights.
That was such drama, wasn't it? You literally couldn't have scripted it. Topsy, favourites in there?
A couple in there. I mean, there was a nice assist in there for Zoe Allcroft's try. I won't say
She paid you for that.
Yeah, no, she paid me to say that. Ellie Kildun's was nice in big game, but standout for me was Jazz Joyce. I mean, I watch her and I think at some point she's going to slow down. And normally when you watch people running, like when they start to arch their back a bit and the head goes back, you think, oh, right, okay, it's like, you know, time now, they're going to fatigue. That's when she puts it in 6th gear, 7th gear and just takes off. Like, she is incredible to watch. I mean, when my head and back went back, I was like, all right, this is it now, I'm digging in. Someone's about to catch me, but she's just like, just takes off, and yeah, she's brilliant. Great stuff.
When you've got raw pace, it's just so difficult to defend, and that's what she's got in abundance.
There has been some brilliant rugby, but let's take a look now at some of the players. How many mums are there playing in the Allianz Premier 15s? You're right, not that many, but here's one who's juggling business, baby, and the battle at the breakdown.
My name is Davinia Catlin and I play hooker for Harlequins in the Allianz Premier 15s. I'm also a sports shop owner alongside my husband James.
And in January 2021, I had my first child, Caden.
7 months later, I was back playing in the famous quarters. I've always wanted a family. Your playing career is only so short, but so's your life. You know, you can't put things on hold constantly. And I thought to myself, I don't want to retire. I don't want to do that. I want to have kids and carry on playing at the top level I can physically do. I'd spoken to some of the girls about having a family and they were like, oh yeah, you should. It'll be great. And I actually got Shauna Brown. We had this Zoom during COVID. We had this Zoom meeting. I said to Shauna, ask them what support they're going to give you if you fall pregnant. Test the waters. And they were like, we will support you like we'd support an injury. And I was like, brilliant. So I literally knew nothing. And when I say I know nothing, not many of my friends have had kids. And I think you only get told things if you're in the mum group. So, you know, I just didn't have anyone to talk to about, like, what can I do? How can I train? I didn't want to do anything that would affect the unborn baby in my belly. But I was very clear that I will still be training and I will still be on pitch. I initially had to keep my heart rate at like 140, but turns out that was pretty much a fast walk for me. So we moved up to 170, so I could actually do a little bit more. It was don't bump the bump, so obviously no contact, no hitting the ground, none of that. But other than that, that's pretty much it on pitch. And then through the gym, it was breathing differently when I lifted. So essentially the opposite of what you would normally do. And that was a challenge because I've gone 10 plus years doing it one way and then you have to change to do it another way. He arrived on the 28th of January. Terrible, absolutely terrible, terrible birth. So we induced, and that took 4 days. I was pretty much in a hospital for 4 days. It was terrible. It was like the worst. But he came out through emergency C-section in the end. I went back about week 12. We did a whole load of tests with the doctor. We did loads of tests on strength, balance, mobility, and everything came out fine. And so then I started training. Your body will never be the same. So the size of your hips, your pelvic's changed, the ligaments, everything has changed. So it's not, I've got a new knee, so I just carry on the way I did before. It's, I've got a whole different movement pattern to work into. With all of this, I'm still breastfeeding, so it was learning how to be away from Caden for 3-4 hours at a time and not feel like I was going to explode, which anyone that's tried to breastfeed knows the struggles of knowing when to express and when not to express, and it is just another thing you have to learn. It's hard because you just sort of expect that your sleep gets back to normal, like you read, oh yeah, 6 months you'll get 12 hours sleep. It doesn't happen, and it's taken me a while to realise that it actually doesn't happen, and it's all right. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's hard because I want to be switched on at work, this is what pays our bills. So I have to be like on the ball, trying to think for 8 hours before I go to training, and then sometimes I'm not all there. Like I have to ask for things to be repeated because I've heard it, but I've not heard it. So things like that, I have to get things repeated to me. It's not easy because, you know, these girls are working off like a solid 8 hours at the minimum, and I'm working on like maybe 5 hours broken, and that is not a lot of sleep. I don't think there's a better feeling when I came off the pitch on Saturday to see my little boy. I honestly don't. When I saw him, my heart just was so big. And I just had a great time playing with the girls. And then I have my little boy to be with. It's something I'm glad I didn't put off. I'm glad I didn't put off any longer. Hopefully more and more women in the league will have kids if they want to, because there are support structures and the clubs are being more forthcoming with the help that they would provide, because that's what it is. It's the not knowing what's going to happen. And if you know, you're in a bit of a better place. Whoa. Whoa.
What an incredible story. Mo, you're obviously in amongst the game. How tough is it for players to think about having a baby, becoming a mum and returning to the elite level of the game?
I think just the sheer fact that not many people have done it shows how difficult it is. And what I love about this is how open she is about it, how much she talks about it. Go and follow her on social media. She's still speaking about breastfeeding, and it's really tough becoming a mum. Like, I've got friends that have done it, sisters that have done it, and I don't think it's spoken about that often. And without going into it in too much detail, I just think it's amazing that she's somebody that people can now look up to in a league and playing at the top of her game whilst having a child as well. I just, hats off to her. Like, it's a brilliant story and something that I just think is amazing to be able to talk about and share with other people as well.
We're seeing increasingly, aren't we, within women's sport, that these female elite athletes can go away, have a baby and come back at the very top level. Motherhood doesn't have to mean the end of their careers. Topsy, for you, do you think the clubs are offering enough support for women to do this?
I'd say previously maybe not, but I think if you look at the way the game is going, it absolutely has to be something that they need to, you know. And Davinia's story was brilliant. You know, she spoke to Harlequins, they said, we'll support you every step of the way. And it shouldn't be an either or situation. You know, you can have it all. Is it hard? Yes, incredibly. We heard the story there, but it is doable, and that's a powerful message. You know, there'll be people watching saying, okay, maybe I thought that wasn't an option for me, and now it is. And you've mentioned some superstars of world sport, you know, Serena Williams, Alison Felix. They've been there, done it, and shown that you can still rise to the top and have it all. So to run a business and to still go and perform on the pitch is incredible. So full credit to her.
It really is, and it's brilliant as well to hear Davinia saying that Harlequins really supported her training within pregnancy, keeping her heart rate at a level, making sure that she was running the right way, no contact. They're fully behind her.
100%. It's just brilliant to see that a club is supporting it in that way. Back in 12 weeks after having an emergency C-section, like, that is unbelievable. Fair play. And I think the most interesting thing for me off the back of that was how her gaits changed in terms of running, and it's just those little nuances that you don't really think about. Like, that would never have crossed my mind. So again, like, to hear that story, it's just eye-opening for so many reasons, and it's amazing to be able to share this stuff with everybody else. I really do believe that.
Absolutely, it's such an inspiring story. Well, from one trailblazer to another, Saracens flanker Sonia Green has seen just about everything in the game for Sarries, England's Sevens and the Barbarians. And the tireless forward has just ticked off another huge milestone.
Sonia Green, 20th season for the club, and now 300 appearances, an incredible achievement.
Crazy. Reaching 300 appearances, I was very proud, very honoured to have done that with one club, and for that club to be Saracens because of how important they are to me. And also to have so many of the Saracens high school pupils at the match and their families, that meant a lot. And even the teachers, the staff, they came as well. And someone said to me, you're 38 and you're still playing Premiership rugby. You've just played 300 games for Saracens and you just played for the Barbars. You can't be disappointed about that. So I've always been really sporty when I was at school, and my teachers would always push me to get involved. I probably used sport to sort of keep me on the straight and narrow. And when I got to sixth form, my PE teacher, he was very open-minded. He made the boys do netball, the girls do rugby. And as soon as I hit a tackle bag, he said, you need to go and play rugby. I went to Sudbury Rugby Club, and within, I think, a season of being there, I was going to trials for England under-19s and quickly got picked up for the England setup. And at some of the trials that I was at, I met two women's coaches who were actually the founders of Saracens, and they invited me to come play at Saracens, and decided to stay there. So I used to make the journey all the way from Colchester to Saracens, and then when I went to uni at Loughborough, I stayed at Saracens and would do the journey up and down. So yeah, I've been at Saracens ever since. The second I got there, I knew that was the club for me. As much as I love Sudbury, just being surrounded by elite players that played for England, Wales, Canada, Holland, coaching staff that were professional, but with a small p, and that we weren't getting paid to do it. And they were my role models. You know, I hadn't ever been able to see women's rugby players, and suddenly there I was surrounded by them. And yeah, they all had jobs, but they all were international players. So they had 2 full-time jobs in effect. And I was in awe of these amazing women. I remember being on a pitch that was pretty much a park. We had floodlights on one area, so it was a very, very different experience to now. I remember being very muddy. There's some pictures of me just being caked in mud. But despite that, just the memories I have about it being really competitive. You know, I started off in the second team. I just wanted to be in the first team. I wanted to be playing in the Premiership, playing big clubs. You know, and then it was Clifton and Bristol and Worcester and Richmond. I just wanted to be playing against other elite women. We had a stand at Bramley Road. You might have a few friends and family there, sort of joke and say one man and his dog. And now the game when it was my 300th, it was a huge game against Exeter. We had people that would normally watch men's games coming along, you know, cheering, come on you Sarries girls. They care about Saracens, and therefore they're coming to watch our matches because they want to watch women's sport. They want to watch the women, and that just speaks volumes. Bigger crowds, better facilities. The standard is obviously, it's miles apart, but that's still that sort of passion, those values, they're still there.
Saracens are Premier 15s champions for 2019. They're the best of the best.
Saracens are very value driven. Ever since I've been at the club, those values have been so important, that family feel. For me, family is very, very important. My sport has given me my family, and I think Saracens for me has been the reason for my success. Everything that Saracens has taught me has enabled me to be successful in all areas of my life, be it through teaching, with sport, and it's just always been a very elite club. Like for me, that's what drew me to the club, and I've just loved every minute of it. Saracens as an organisation is very value driven, and when there was an opportunity in Barnet in the borough to have a free school, and Saracens wanted to get on board, they wanted to give back to the community. It was an opportunity to continue the great work they were doing through sport, but also through education with the local community, and that is very much what we do. We serve the local community. If you ask anyone that works here, it's all about family, it's all about values. So yeah, it probably shows I'm very proud to say I'm a member of staff here. If I'm totally honest, I probably fell into teaching a little bit, but once I was there, it's just been a great opportunity to be a role model to other girls. I remember starting up my first rugby club for girls in the first school I taught in, and a few years ago, one of the girls was actually playing for Saracens women. I mean, that's why you become a teacher, that's why you become a PE teacher. So. And then obviously working here at Saracens High School, it couldn't be better. My job as Vice Principal, I lead on culture. So some schools call that behaviour, we like to call it culture. So that's culture with the pupils, with the families, with the staff. I'm also a designated safeguarding lead. And I do teach a little bit as well. So we really encourage the pupils to be part of the team and the experience. But we also have, we've had some men's players come in They're working with some of our pupils to do mentoring. We invite people that are linked to the club to come in and support the pupils with their careers and aspirations. We call it futures here. So it might be that there's someone that's linked to the club who is maybe a lawyer or potentially, I don't know, works in media, or we've even had a comedian come in. But those links with Saracens have enabled us to then support the young people to meet people that they can aspire to be. I love both of my jobs, so hopefully be here for the foreseeable future. With regards to rugby, people keep saying when you're going to retire. I'm not ready yet. So I've had that conversation with my coach. I've said he needs to be honest with me when I'm ready. At the moment, I can't even think about coaching, or I just want to focus on, taking each weekend, each match as it comes. But I'm not ready to give up yet.
Well, Mo, Topsy, firstly, let's reflect on some of the pictures we saw in the early days. Proper agricultural stuff, wasn't it?
It really was. It just shows how far the women's game has come. As it said, 21 years at the top of your game. Hats off, unbelievable achievement. And the progression that you see just in that VT of the women's game, I think it just shows where we're at now. Like we mentioned earlier with the BBC deals, it's crazy to think how far we've come in that amount of time.
Yeah, it's a world apart. You look back, you go, we used to do that. We used to play on that. We used to just get it done. Like, you didn't think of it, and that was just what happened. And, if that was the pitch, you would play with it. You wouldn't think about it. But, yeah, things have moved on, thankfully, which is great. But, I mean, credit to Sonia, because she is still getting it done at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Mo, you'd have faced Sonia over the years as well. What's she like?
She's brilliant. So lucky enough to be captained by her at England A. She's so diligent with everything she does, the passion that she has for the game, the love of the sport, never falters no matter what team. And most recently, playing in the Barbarian squad with her was really nice to be back in the same shirt as her and actually playing, especially off the back of her recent accolade. Just full credit to her. She deserves everything she's got. She's worked so hard for it, and she really is a role model now as well for those students at Saracens High. So brilliant to see.
300 games for the club. Topsy, she's in fine company, isn't she? You've also hit that milestone. How? How on earth?
Yes, I have. We're an esteemed company. It's hard, no doubt about it. Like I say, 300 games, more than 300 games over a long period of time. I guess Sonia touched on it there. If you find somewhere that's home for you, somewhere where you're happy, somewhere that challenges you, but somewhere where you feel that you can be fulfilled, you can do everything you want to do and more, it makes it an easy decision to stay and to keep going and to keep working. And it was exactly the same for me, probably the same for her. She loves Saracens. That is her home, that's her place, and she's now given so much back to it and has been given so much as well. You look at the school, the foundation, everything that they're doing, it's a whole feel, it's a whole community feel, and that's what they're about, and it's brilliant to see.
Yes, what a legend Sonia Green is, and her club Saracens doing very well. Let's take a quick look then at the Allianz Premier 15's table after 11 rounds with a few postponed games to come. Guys, give us your thoughts on what we're seeing.
Overriding theme for me is watch out for the West Country. I think we've had an established top four for a couple of years now, but I can see this being the year that gets broken up. I can see two of Exeter, Bristol and Gloucester Hartpury getting into that top four. There you go, there's my prediction.
Which two?
No comment.
The pressure, the tension.
Yeah, for me, I think it's really hard to look past Saracens at the moment. The way they're playing, the likes of Marley Packer, Poppy Cleo, the link that they've got, the soft touches, work at the breakdown, everything about what they're doing at the moment is really, really strong. And I think they're kind of the informed team for me. But like you said, it just has that edge. There's no games now that you know the team that are going to win. I think arguably Saracens probably have an edge on everyone, but other than that, you kind of go into everything and no one really knows who's coming out on top, and I just love to be part of that.
You're pushing into that top four at Gloucester Hartpury. The vibe must be great.
The vibe's amazing. I'm not going to talk about the table or anything. I don't mind being an underdog and being kind of one that is on the back burner until the time's right. But the vibe at the club is amazing. The girls absolutely adore each other. It's so much fun. Like, training's brilliant. And the best thing is the coaching's really good. So every time we're out, we're learning and people are being pushed in different ways. Like, I'm being challenged so much now in probably the latter stages of my career, let's be honest, than that I ever really have. And I think that's a really special place to be. can't speak highly enough of it.
It is going to be such a competitive and exciting second half of the season on the run into the playoffs and, of course, the Allianz Premier 15's final. And someone who is leading from the front for Gloucester Hartbury, your teammate Zoe. She's doing pretty well, isn't she?
She's amazing. We're basically co-captains now, just the way that naturally the leadership's happened at the club. As you can see from that stat, is mental. You've got nearly over 50 more tackles than the next closest person. She just puts in an absolute shift for us week in, week out, and I'm so glad she's on my team.
Yeah, an absolute machine.
Yeah.
And we've talked about how brilliant Saracens are playing, and look at this, the steals. The top 3 players might just have something to do with that.
Yeah, they're thieves, aren't they? You think you've got the ball, and then they turn up and they poach it off you, keeping the ball away from all the kids. It's incredible when you've got that. I mean, that's a high number of possessions that they're getting back off the opposition, and when you're doing that, it just makes the rest of the game so much easier. You've got Shauna Brown in there as 12. Quick word on Quins, defending champions. They'll hit their form at some point and they'll come roaring back. Of course, they want to defend their crown, but yeah, there is a key reason there why Saracens are where they are in the table at the minute.
And last season, we saw Lark Davis of Loughborough Lightning at the top of the most tries scored list. Let's see who's there once again. It's Lark Davis.
Lark Davis doing Lark Davis things. It's good to see, isn't it? Obviously, Loughborough doing something right and they're more set up, their drives, because a lot of those tries are coming from that. But for me, what's most pleasing is seeing 2 back 3 players in that mix, getting hands on ball, running in wonder tries as well. They're not just your standard 2-on-1 opportunities that they're dotting down over the line. They really are finishing some good rugby, and Ellie Kildunn and Ellie Underwood are smashing that at the moment.
Yeah, it's actually a bit of a nod to how the game has progressed in the space of a season now. We're now seeing a bit more balance in style of play. Yes, there are a lot of forward carries, a lot of forward involvements, but actually when the opportunity's there to go, the girls are going, and you can see that now with the mix of players we got in those try scoring charts.
Well, funny you should mention Ellie Underwood. She first picked up a rugby ball at the age of 21. We headed down to the farm in the Forest of Dean to catch up with Mo's teammate.
My horses, they're a massive part of my life. I have been riding for, 26 years. My mum told me when I was a teenager that I'd lose interest and I'd be interested in boys. She was wrong. It just proves that you can have both of them. I live on a farm. It's a lovely place to be. It's really nice to be able to get involved with the cattle. We hadn't reared calves here for a long time. The problem is now I don't want to sell them because I've named them all. I just get a bit upset and say, can we keep them for a few more weeks? But I understand it's a business and we can't keep everything as a pet, but I love them. Sergio. My relationship with rugby when I was younger was nothing. I didn't play when I was younger. I played football mostly, so I am secretly still a bit of a football fan. I was 21 years old when I played my first league game for Drybrook. Basically used to go and watch my fiancé go and play rugby. From there, some of the girls said, oh, we're starting a women's team. I thought, well, that might be quite fun. So I went home and said to Jim, I think I'm gonna give it a go, you know, I'm gonna start play rugby. And he said to me, nah, you won't do that. I thought, do you know what, I'm gonna prove him wrong. Even if I'm rubbish, I'll make sure I'm not. That was how it started. My coach at the time said to me, okay, so we're going to put you in the second row. And I thought, okay, what's that? Then they started to lift me in the line out and I thought, okay, I wasn't quite expecting this. And of course I said to Jim, I'm in the second row. He went on social media just to say, if I'm a second row, then he's Johnny Wilkinson. I think it did work. I'm not in the second row anymore. I'd been at Drybrook for 5 years. 2 years in a row we got promoted. From there we won the Junior Cup. And then we got nominated for Team of the Year at Twickenham. I was named captain for a couple of seasons, so that was like a huge highlight for me. I ended up at Gloucester Hartbury. I knew Kerry Large, who played at the time. She got me all this kit to wear. But I did feel a bit intimidated because I was just me and I just did what I did and I didn't know if that was good enough for what they wanted. They invited me up to play a couple of friendlies. Scored a couple of tries and then from there they sort of eased me into it and yeah, I made my debut. I can't wait to see what's next really.
Getting the offload away for Ellie Underwood. Underwood again in at the corner. Ellie Underwood. chases on into that corner. Gloucester Harbury are managing to get in. Oh, what a finish from Ellie Underwood.
Is that it? Yeah. That's it. How many times did I say
Oh, I love it. What a character Ellie is. Mo, you see her daily. What is she like?
Do you know what? Character's probably the best word for her. She's one of those people that will walk into the gym, walk into the change room, and people just smile at her. She's just a wonderful person to be around. A bit of a space cadet, likes to be on her own, like just a little bit in her own head at times, but just brilliant. And for me, one of the best wingers in the game. Like the tries that she finishes, the opportunities she takes, she has no right to get through some of the people that she gets through, let alone finish over the try line. And I absolutely love being part of the team with her, and coming from the same town as well. I think it's pretty special. It's always nice when you're a local girl playing with another local girl at a local club. So yeah, I can't speak highly enough of her.
I love the thought of her down the farm with Sergio. Topsy, it's good to see as well that a player like Ellie can come into the game at a later point in life and there's still the opportunity there.
Yeah, absolutely, and it has to be that way because people develop at different rates. Some get into the game quite young, play through minis in their youth and they progress into the senior team. Others go on a different path. They go to a farm, they go to uni, whatever it is, you can come to the game whenever you're ready. And I think we've seen that with Ellie, and the spark gets lit and you're like, oh, I'm pretty good at this. I'm fast, I'm mobile, I can score tries. That's quite fun. And you just do it and you fall in love with it and it becomes your life. So I think it's great that, Ellie's story about how she's got into rugby now and now she's thriving. Mo said, I was lucky enough to be at the Bristol game when she scored those 2 tries.
She's so elusive, isn't she? I think the one thing I love about Elle as well is she'll be on the horse before we play on a Saturday. So say we're playing home and the kick-off's at 2 o'clock, you'll see her Instagram story and she's like morning ride and she's just out on her horse going down the road. And that's what I love about her, that so many people, rugby's life and everything they do is about rugby. And I think the balance that you can get as you get older, you kind of learn that. And I think potentially coming into the sport a little bit later, she's learnt that trade already, but having that little bit of extra and a little bit of something to have your switch off is so important, and she's brilliant for that, and a lot of people can take a lot from that, I think.
She's doing rugby her own way, isn't she? Well, we're almost there for this episode of All In. Mo, Topsy, we've got 5 more rounds to come before the Women's Six Nations. Who do you or what do you expect to see dominating the headlines?
I think for me, Saracens are still going to be on top for a little while. I think they're the ones that people need to be looking at to knock off. I know Bristol are there and a lot of people are talking about Bristol as well. So how that transforms and plays out will be very intriguing, especially seeing as they've lost to Loughborough. They obviously lost to us, both below them in the table recently. So intriguing to see how they go in the next few weeks. But yeah, I just think it's going to be the rise of the bottom half. Worcester are always super strong. Sale was probably one of the hardest games I've played this season so far. They had all of their internationals back, so they're definitely ones not to take lightly at all, and I just think it's going to get really feisty and I cannot wait to be part of it.
Yeah, it's hard to predict what's going to happen. I think, we've seen that in the early part of the season now. Teams are going to beat each other. They're going to take points off each other. We're going to get to around kind of end of March time and go, right, okay, it's a sprint finish now for those top 4 positions. I think there's going to be a lot of chopping and changing. I think you're probably looking at 7 or 8 teams fighting for those 4 positions, but that could change on a weekly basis. I'm just looking forward to more excitement, more tries, more skills, more highlights, more 50-22s, more 80-metre finishes. I think we're going to have it all, and it's going to be brilliant to watch. Like I say, the broadcasting is amazing now. You can watch the games, you can watch the highlights. It's everywhere, so I'm just looking forward to more and more of that.
We're here for the drama. Yeah.
Always for the drama. Thank you both, Mo and Topsy, for your expertise and insight, and enjoy the next few rounds as well, especially you, Mo. It's going to be exciting. Thank you to all of you as well for watching. Make sure you are following Allianz Premier 15s on social media, Instagram and Twitter to stay up to date with everything from the women's game. Also, make sure you're subscribed to YouTube as well for highlights of each and every weekend. We'll catch you after the Six Nations ahead of the Allianz Premier 15s final. We'll see you then.